Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reapiron, and today we're going to be completing the weekly outbreak, one of the new weekly outbreaks on Killing Floor 2. This is Coliseum. If you're wondering how to complete Bloodthirsty, I do have a guide up for that too on the channel, so when that comes back around you can check that guide out. It'll kind of give you some tips and hints on how to beat it. For this I'm going to be showing you two different builds that I am going to use and demonstrate here in a second for this particular weekly. So in Coliseum, you can only use the Berserker. No other classes are acceptable. This is also recommended for 15 plus perks. I would agree with that. So my first build is my standard Berserker build, which is going Skirmisher, Butcher, and Parry. Skirmisher, so I get bonus movement speed and health regen. Butcher, so I get more damage and attack speed. And Parry, so I get more damage reduction as well as attack speed. Now this is going to be the usual build that I use for this, but this is coming from somebody who uses Berserker a lot. So I know how to parry pretty well, not everybody does, and for the other build I will be recommending Dreadnought, Vampire, and Resilience. If you are above this level, then I would recommend Smash or Massacre, depending on which weapons you enjoy taking. If you want to do light attacks, more pick Massacre. If you want to do heavy attacks, more pick Smash. And then I pretty much always recommend Spartan. So let me show you the easier build, the build that I'd recommend for new players, players that don't play Berserker a whole lot, which is this one. And then I will be once again doing it with my more usual build. For this, I will be playing on the map Nuked. Nuked is one of the better maps to complete this challenge on too, because it's a wide open map for the most part. You get a lot of places to run. So as you can see, this is set to Hell on Earth, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. That being said, you are playing Berserker, so you do have a pretty good chance of surviving this. And with this easy build, you have 200 HP. The Vampire skill will also give you bonus health after you kill an enemy. So you can be pretty offensive here at the start. Whenever Z time triggers, just try to ram into enemies that are nearby. And the real reason why I picked Resilience instead of Parry is for people that don't really know how to parry. Simply blocking will reduce the damage a lot that you're taking. I would recommend that you always want to be moving around. As you can see, you can get actually quite a few kills and knockdowns with this, just by moving around and attacking the enemies. I recommend just using light attacks with the Frovel. You can use heavy attacks if you want, especially if you're running Smash, because Smash can one-shot rioters to the head. This build can also be used pretty easily in multiplayer too. This is, once again, for the people who don't play Berserker a whole lot. This is just going to be like the most forgiving build, I would say. Now, one of the enemies that you're going to come up across in this is going to be the Scrake. Which the Scrake, it definitely benefits you from just blocking his attack. You don't necessarily need to parry it, but whenever there is an angry Scrake trying to attack you, just simply hold up your whatever your melee weapon is that you're using to block from it. If you can parry, you can kind of stun him to knock him back. So once again, if you are kind of used to this, and well, if his chainsaw's not red, kind of what I use is just to keep looking at his arms and then just constantly kind of move backward. Alright, there we go. Also, if you have battering ram up, be sure to target something like Scrakes or Flesh Pounds, that way you can knock them down a little bit easier. Oh, I forgot to mention, you still have your EMP grenades. So for any Zeds that do have special abilities, like the bloats, you can throw them at them, and that way they won't be able to vomit while they're under the EMP effect. Alright, so now that we have enough, I would definitely recommend that you buy the Clobberer first. This is going to help you a lot, both in solo and in multiplayer. This is arguably Berserker's best weapon at the moment, because it allows you to heal as well as heal allies and apply the poison effect. Once you get this weapon, this challenge is a much easier challenge. You don't have to worry about it as much. I would also recommend everybody in your group also having the Clobberer, because it's a great medic weapon that everybody can use to heal themselves up. So you can use the heavy attack to heal yourself and to heal allies if you hit an ally with it. The light attacks will not trigger the heals. Once again, just battering ram your way through pretty much everything. And against anything like Flesh Pounds or Scrakes, simply try to block them and then just kind of circle around them and keep using the heavy attack from the Clobberer. this is pretty much the best way to use it in my opinion, at least against crowds and against large enemies. And then just using its light attack against small enemies. Once again, just keep on using battering ram to just kill everything that your bat is not killing. This, if you're running Dreadnought with this, it's really hard for you to die. Because you can heal yourself. If other allies are using this around you, they're going to be healing you too. And you just having a ton of HP is not really a bad thing. So the usual Hell on Earth tips apply to this too. If you see an ally and they're hurt, you can heal them with your syringe. You'll get health for that. Your syringe will also come back twice as fast if you heal an ally with it. If you're playing solo, then just use your syringe whenever you're missing around 40 to 50 points. That way you will get healed for 50 points. Of course, if you're lower, then absolutely heal up whenever you can. You shouldn't be at too low a health throughout most of this, I would say, though, because you do have the Hemoglobber. But this does make fighting Skrakes much easier. Because you can kind of just stand out of reach and just keep hitting them with light attacks. And they'll likely become poisoned to where they can't hit you, or they won't be able to hit you more than once or twice. Even if you get pushed into a corner like this, the Hemoglobber can usually get you out if you just do a couple light attacks and then just keep trying to block. Or if you have any ammo in it and can use your heavy attack, because it will cause pretty much all the Zeds to freak out around you. Alright, the second weapon I would recommend taking with this loadout is the Bone Crusher for new players. The reason being is that the Bone Crusher is the best defensive weapon that Berserker has. You will take the least amount of damage when blocking with this, so it's the most forgiving. If you get pushed into a corner and you just have to turtle up, you actually can do that for a very long time. Pretty much guaranteeing that you won't die. Even in like a multiplayer map, even if you have multiple flesh pounds trying to hit you or Skrakes, you can usually survive a surprisingly long time, especially if you have anybody near you hitting enemies with the Hemoglobber. This weapon also can parry a surprisingly high amount of things, and I would just recommend using this mostly as a defensive tool. So if you see a lot of big stuff coming up and you want to help out your team, then simply get to the front, put your shield up, and just kind of keep moving back. This way you can just absorb the most amount of damage while your teammates are pretty much, you know, uncontested as they just hit everything. So if you're finding that you're doing pretty well with this loadout and you don't really need the Bone Crusher, that you're not being super defensive, or if you're trying this, you know, with friends or something and you want to go more of an offensive route, you could go with something like the Pulverizer or the Battle Axe. Both are great choices. The Pulverizer will generally do more damage towards flesh pounds, but the Battle Axe will do more damage overall to everything. Both are great choices, especially if you have the ability to smash. Then you can do a lot of damage with their heavy attacks. I'm going to be using the Pulverizer from now on as my main damaging weapon, and be using the Hemoglobber as my main defensive weapon. Whereas if you're running this with the Bone Crusher, it's much more of the other way around. Where the Bone Crusher is your defensive option, your Hemoglobber is your offensive / support weapon. Alright, I hear flesh pounds coming, so let's try to kill them real quick. Also, since we're running resistance, you can actually take a couple more hits to like your back if you're trying to run away. Remember, running away is a great option too for Berserker. You can outrun pretty much anything that's going to try to kill you. Alright, so I'm going to upgrade my Hemoglobber once and upgrade my Pulverizer all the way. Buy as much armor as I can. It probably would have been better if I'd bought ammo and armor first, then upgraded the Pulverizer, but it's alright. Should be fine for this. So let's see which boss we get. Now, which boss you get is going to determine how difficult this is. The Matriarch is probably the hardest one. I've gotten her, I think, each time I've tried this. So let's see how this goes. You mostly just want to find an area to loop her, like around this bus, for example. And then constantly just try to loop around her. Try to hit her at these angles and try not to get hit too much by things like her plasma. If you're getting hurt, you know, try to get to a safe distance and heal. She's really running at you. You're gonna have to tank through part of this. The big thing that we want to do is get her to where she is trying to call upon the robots, because that's going to help us the most. There we go. Break off her armor. Now we just need the robots here, so we can start getting some kills with them. Oh yeah, look out for her tentacle. If she grabs you, you can block it. You can actually just parry her tentacle too. If she tries to toss it out at you. Pretty much just keep finding an area like this where you can kind of loop her around. Oop. Unless she, of course, knocks you away from that. Then just kind of stay away from her electricity. And you can dodge her big overhead swing. And her spin. Alright, what I want to try to do is kill the robots though. So you can parry her tentacle. There we go. Hit this so then we can actually hit her with battering ram. Knock her on the ground, and then this way we get in a couple free hits that she can't really do anything about. Again, try to block or parry the tentacle. It's much easier to do with the Bone Crusher, simply because then you can just hold it up and not worry about the timing.
I've improved myself in so many ways.
And if you don't parry it, it's fine. You can parry your attack as she pulls you in. Just make sure to constantly stay away from her, because she might not try to kick you. She might try to do her screaming attack. Keep moving around so that we can get our heals in, get back up to our 200 health. And then if we can,
disappearing before your eyes.
You know, get some knockdowns there. And then just keep hitting her until she's dead. She's not too bad to fight in solo with Berserker even. She's not the worst one. Abomination can be a bit harder with Berserker if you happen to get him, because you are so much closer. But if you keep keeping your distance and keep hitting him, keep trading people who's hitting him, especially with the Hemoclobber, you can get all your health back and usually be okay. So that's one way that I would do this. If you're not super familiar with Berserker, if you're fairly new to him but you still want to complete this, you still want to get the skin, then I'd recommend that. If you are more used to playing Berserker, then I would recommend the other build, and I'll play that now and kind of go through that. Alright, once again, the main weapon I'd recommend you take with this build too is the Hemoclobber. That way you can keep yourself alive and keep teammates alive. Your second weapon, you can pick quite a few different weapons, especially if you have DLCs. The Ion Thruster is a very good choice. The Battle Axe is a very good choice. Pulverizer is a good choice. The Static Strikers are a good choice too. Any of them work just fine on this, especially if you're quite experienced with Berserker. And arguably, if you are experienced with Berserker, I would just recommend taking whatever is the most preferable to you. So whichever weapon you like the most, that is one of these weapons that you can use. So if you really like using the Static Strikers, use them. If you really like using the Zweihander, use that. If you're a big fan of the Battle Axe, use that. They should all work just fine for you. I would just recommend taking the Hemoclobber, because the Hemoclobber is so strong, both for you and for the team. And as you can see, you kind of can just bully everything with this build once you get used to parries with Berserker. This is the usual build that I run for Berserker while I'm playing on Hell on Earth, whether it's this challenge or any other board. The good thing about this, though, is that you don't have to worry about husks showing up to blow you up, because there's no husks on this one, which is pretty nice. The worst thing you got to worry about is really just the bloats, and I guess the sirens. If you get cornered by a bunch of bloats and sirens, that can kill you pretty quickly. It's anything like Skrakes or Flesh Pounds, you can beat them up all the same. Oh yes, bring it on. Bring 4 Flesh Pounds on at once. I don't care. I'm Berserker with a medic bat. Oh wow, they actually did bring 4 Flesh Pounds on. Alright. Fair enough for them then. I'm just gonna keep my parry going. Again, I'm not running Vampire with this. Just so that I can have the most damage. If you were running Vampire, you'd probably be able to heal yourself up from all of that even easier. And especially if you were running Dreadnought in the last build. If you're running Dreadnought and parry, then it's really difficult for anything to kill you on this. It's also not a bad idea to switch to that during boss wave, but I won't for the sake of this video. I'll just keep it the full damage, full mobility Berserker. Which seems to be working just fine. Which boss did we get? Oh, the Patriarch. The Patriarch can also be kind of a hard one here because he's already kind of difficult towards Berserker. He's likely going to be able to run away if you're playing solo like I am. Yeah, I'll wait right here, Patriarch. If you can find a structure like this to loop him around, it's not too bad. And this is just right out in front of the building.
Help me, my children.
Come back here. Come back here, Patriarch. Yeah, he's gonna get away.
I didn't know who
Now, for Patriarch, it's actually best if you try not to kill as much stuff as possible. Simply so you don't trigger Z time until he gets back. That way you can abuse him with the Z time. This is easier in solo than it is in multiplayer, because multiplayer you're probably going to want to kill some of this stuff so it doesn't swarm you. But if you can find a big open area like this, you can usually kind of create a nice train and just do some parries in there. Wait for him to come back around. I can hear him. But he's not quite here yet. Oh, yes he is. Alright.
I wonder you're driving me ballistic.
So, again, try not to get hit by his missiles. You can technically survive them if you are running the Bone Crusher. Especially if you're running Dreadnought, Bone Crusher, and Resilience. I think then you can survive the rockets just by blocking through it.
Pollute this world with weakness. Didn't see that coming, did you?
Again, we're not going to be able to kill him because we can't do enough damage to stop him. I will get rid of this, but I will try to keep everything else alive. That way we can potentially get another battering ram in. If he does drag you in with the tentacle, don't worry, you can block it pretty easily. Alright, hang on. I said I'd use the katana to stab something.
What are you? Your flesh so soft.
Alright. Uh-oh. Hang on.
This is not time.
There we go. Chop him up with the katana. Alright. Patriarch is one of the more difficult ones because he can insta-kill you with the rocket launcher. If you're running Bone Crusher and Dreadnought, that shouldn't happen to you, assuming you're at pretty high health if you block it and you are actively trying to get away from the rockets. If not, it still can one-shot you. Same with his other rocket. Barrage can kill you too if you happen to be unlucky. I did do that one slightly faster than the other one. I think the Patriarch ate up a good amount of time there, though. This one took me about 20 minutes when I did it with Dreadnought. It took me about 25 minutes. So, slower, but that's not too surprising since this is the more damage-oriented build. So hopefully this helped you out a bit, gave you a couple tips on how to beat this. And I hope you guys found this entertaining. If you guys did and you're not subscribed, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I put out videos like this. I hope all of you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you guys next time. Till then, stay cool, and bye!